overview, environmental services. And your topic will be odor emission in paper industry.
Yes.
Sorry about that.
Thank you, Dr. Go. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to my presentation on odor emission and, you can hear me? Yeah. And airborne pollution in the paper industry in Germany. I'm working for Müller-BBM since the year 2002. Before I studied agriculture engineering and was only concerned with odors from farming. And since that time, I'm also dealing with odors from the paper industry. And about, to my experience, 2/3 of all paper mills have problems with odors, but not they themselves have the problems, but they have problems with their neighbors. And I think it's maybe a problem you got here in Canada too. And I got some ideas from the speeches before, and maybe you can get some ideas from my speech for the proceedings here in Canada, how to deal with odors from my speech too. Now to the structure of my presentation, which you cannot see. Okay. Does it work with the mouse also?
Yes.
Okay. Oh, okay. Okay. No, then I use the laptop. Okay, just press. Okay. Thank you. First, I'll tell you about the legal basis in Germany, then about the odor emissions due to the paper industry. Then, in the final section, I'm talking about odor in the ambient air, in the environment, how we determine odors in the ambient air. We do this by field inspections, so-called field inspections. We do odor dispersion calculations also. And just like Dr. Go, we try to find out how this, both methods correlate, if there is any correlation. To the legal basis in Germany. Okay. We got a guideline on odor in ambient air, the so-called GO-AAR, the German acronym. If you hear it or read it, is GERL, Geruchsemissionsrichtlinie. And this sets exposure limits for odor hours that are detectable in different kinds of land use. What is an odor hour? An odor hour is an hour where in 10% of the hour, in 6 minutes, odors are perceptible. And it is allowed in Germany that in residential and mixed areas, in 10% of the time of the year, odors are allowed to be perceptible. In commercial and industrial areas, odors are allowed in 15% of the year. And in villages with livestock, we have villages with livestock, so we have also minimum separation distances, but they don't work that good. It's also allowed that it smells 15% of the year. There are many exceptions of this guideline, but we don't have the time to talk about all these exceptions. Maybe later in the coffee break. Now to the other kind of legal basis. It's not only, sorry. This is the odor in the ambient air, and now to the emission. What comes out of the fact of the paper mill. We have a technical guideline on odor pollution control, so-called TH Luft, and this has special regulations for different facilities. And for the paper industry, we have no emission limits, no concentration limits. We have just the measure to minimize by contraction and process optimization the odor emission of waste paper stock, storage, transportation, and waste, and so on. It is also mentioned that for some cases, advanced state-of-the-art techniques to reduce odors shall be introduced, such as encapsulation, collection of waste gas, and in the end, waste gas treatment. Waste gas treatment you find rarely in paper mills. If you find it and at the clarifier, and there only at that parts of the clarifier where very odor-intensive gas is emitted, such as hydrolysis gas before anaerobic digestion. Where do those odors occur? They occur nearly everywhere. You find them in the grinding shop, at the thermomechanical pulping, at the waste paper processing, at the paper drying in the machine, and sure at the wastewater treatment. But you do not only find odors, you find also other substances, such as HCHO, formaldehyde, or methanol, which I found it's not a very odorous substance, not at all, but it's mentioned to be carcinogenic, and this is why I found it. And we have measured the two. It comes out of burning processes from natural gas at the drier sections, or maybe from some binders with formaldehyde, which consist of formaldehyde. On the next slide, you see the places where odors emit in all operating areas. Everywhere odor comes out, and one major effect to the odor emission, to the how high it is time. The basic factor I found out is time. The longer the pulp and paper is in the machine, is in the basins, is in the container, the higher the odor emission is. And we find no linear correlation, but we find an exponential correlation, as the biological activity doubles every 20 minutes in all those basins, containers, and so on. How high are these emissions? I have here an example of, or show you the range of the measured concentrations in the different plant sections. I difference it in wastewater and paper or cardboard machine. And you see there is a very wide range, depends on products, on time, on water circuits, and so on and so on. And I will give a focus on the cooling tower, which is a very interesting example. This cooling tower inlet, what I mean with this is the inlet of the clarifier. After pre-clarification, it was necessary to cool the water, which was pre-clarified by sedimentation. And by this sedimentation process, lots of odors were built, and the cooling tower, with a total volume flow of 1 million cubic meter, emitted then 150 giga odor units per hour. And the rest of the mill emitted about 1 giga odor unit per hour. So 150 times of the total odor emission was set free at this cooling tower. And so it was, as they had odor problems, it was shut down immediately. And I'm now glad that we shut it down, because it's not only an emission of odor, but also a biohazard emission, as all the Legionella bacteria and so on can be set free at such cooling towers. And it will be prohibited soon in Germany that you can cool water directly from the wastewater treatment by such cooling towers. Some paper mills still run cooling towers like that. Now to the odor in the ambient air. If we want to measure odor in the ambient air, we carry out grid inspections. What do you need for a grid inspection? You need a grid, you need a mill, and you need 10 panelists. It is carried out on 50 times or 104 times in a whole year period. And what do the panelists do? They go to each point there, they stand there for 10 minutes, and they notice whether they smell odor or not after every 10 seconds. And if it's indicated as an odor hour, if they smell in more than 10% of the time, then it's quantified as an odor hour. And so as they go there 13 times in half a year, or 26 times in 1 year, you get for every assessment square a total amount of 52 measurements. It's a statistical method, but it's the king's way, we say in Germany, to detect odors and to compare it to the limits which are given by the odor, by the GOAA. We also carry out odor dispersion calculation. We do not use Gaussian models. We use Lagrangian dispersion models with preprocessed wind field models. The input, I think we talked a lot about that, and the major point of this odor dispersion calculation is that we invented an assessment threshold value for odors of 0.25 odor units to detect whether an hour is an odor hour or not. Why do we need this? Because dispersion calculation is only able to simulate average concentrations over an hour. And an average concentration doesn't give you an information whether it smells or it smells not. Let's say this is, so I explained you the model of the odor hour. This is let's say this is 1 hour from the beginning till the end of time point 3. And in this hour, you have perceptible odors. This is the odor threshold value, 1 odor unit per cubic meter. And sometimes you smell odor. And we say that if you sometimes smell it, it's offensive, then it's an odor hour. And the model can just predict an average, a mean value over the hour. And we say with a mean value of 0.5 odor units per cubic meter, it's determined as an odor hour. And this is for all kind of facilities, for all kind of plants, and so on and so on. What we found out, especially in the paper industry, this doesn't work. In the most cases, we found out that the correlation between detected odor by field inspection and calculated odor is 1 odor unit per cubic meter. And it is now a novel of the technical guideline of air pollution and progress, and they saying you're no more allowed to use another threshold value than 0.25, and this would have serious effects on the paper industry, especially on the paper industry, which I will show you on the next few slides. Here is an odor dispersion calculation carried out at a threshold of 0.25 odor units per cubic meter. And you see here, here is the plant. It's 56% of the year it's smelling at the plant side. That's clear. And there is a big area where odors can be detected 14, 15, 10, 12% of the year. So the area where the limit for mixed and residential areas of 10% of hours of the year is exceeded is very, very large. You carry out the calculation, with a threshold value of 1 odor unit per cubic meter, this area is more than halved. And this has got serious effects on the mill side. In the first example, they would have to carry out extensive measures to reduce odors, or maybe they couldn't even stay there. They would get no permits, no license, no longer. And in the other case, everything would be more realistic. Yeah? So what is my final statement is: don't believe the models, even if they're validated one time. You always get new ideas, new experience, and maybe you got the same discussions in Canada or all over the world. And I encourage you hereby to lead these discussions and have an acceptable result for all. So this was it about odors from paper industry in Germany. Thank you for your attention.
Questions?
Walter, in your presentation, you identified that there's a lot of sequential processes that are very close together that create odors in a pulp paper facility. And then you showed as well the odor unit measurements for some of those different processes. Just wondering if there's any particular techniques that you use to measure the odor units coming from particular processes without having the influence of other processes. We need that measurement.
We always measure on the stack. Odor units, we always measure on so they're not influenced one by another. But we do some other measurements. We do, it may be interesting for you too, the odor emission potential of waters. We're stripping all the odors of, we take a sample of water, not an air sample, we take a sample of water and strip all the odors that are in there. And so we can go from the beginning of the process, from solving waste paper or pulp to the end of the process, and everywhere we take some samples of water and we strip all odors, and so we find out where the odors are built or generated. Yeah? The stack helps you to assess the odor impact in the vicinity and the environment, but it doesn't always help you to find out where the odors are really built. And other methods such as measuring carbon acids or redox potential, say that in English too, they give you an idea, but not really they quantify the odor emission potential.
One question, just maybe I missed it in your presentation. What is the definition of odor unit equivalent in Germany? Is it similar to what we have here in Canada?
Odor emission?
Odor unit.
Odor unit, we have, since 2003, we have European odor units, OUE, and one odor unit is correlated to the European reference standard n-butanol, and it's 0.123 micrograms of n-butanol. And this is how we select our panelists. They should be able to smell it and half and between the range half and double concentration of that. So it's 123 micrograms. Okay. Sorry.
What's the pulping process in Germany? It's mostly craft mills.
The pulping?
Yeah, are
Is the I was just talking about paper mills today. Pulp mills are a different chapter in the. They have all the very big problems. If you solve, I mean pulp that is already. If you solve it, it doesn't smell a lot. This is maybe why you asked, because there was no odor when solving pulp. But producing pulp emits a lot of odor because they use a lot of sulfur substances, depending on the process. Yeah.
What did you plan to do to control the odor pollution?
Pardon?
What did you plan to do to control the odor pollution?
I didn't get it acoustically.
What kind of technology did they install to reduce the odor emission?
At the cooling tower, indirect cooling. They use fresh water for cooling. They cool the fresh water and use another cooling system where the water from the clarifier isn't spread to the air, but is staying in the ground. The problem is the direct cooling. Indirect cooling is no problem.
Thank you.